Hello, my dear students. How are you? As I told you before, this week we are starting, inshallah, with the comprehension text in your Pioneer book, Unit 7, entitled Information Age. And you find this on page 79, 80, and 81. This time we are having, we are discussing only the first part of the text. And in the coming days, we will have other two parts related to the same text. So please, before we start with this presentation, I wanted to bring your student books and open page 79. Now, when we say information age, I guess we all know or relate this term to our current time, where the development of technology and internet has conquered our life, the different levels and fields of our life. Now, before we go on with the lesson, I want you to be identified with the main or basic objectives you're supposed to accomplish by the end of this lesson. The first objective is that you would be able to investigate the significance of technology in finding information. Investigate, I mean, you would be able to think, to explore for yourself the significance or the importance of technology in finding information. The second objective is related to the vocabulary, the new vocabulary you might learn, and the kind of vocabulary that is related to technology and the internet. The third objective is the main or the core focus of this passage we are discussing is that to trace the history of some internet concepts and sites. We all know the word website, we all know the word email, we all know the word Facebook or YouTube or whatever. But have you ever thought of the beginning of each term, or how each aspect of internet or technology has first started? Now we are going to answer this through this text relating or referring to different internet aspects. Before we start directly with the passage, I am giving you this writing task, and I want you to take it seriously. It is something I think important to pay attention to. Now, what is this writing task all about? On page 79 in your student book, you would find two questions to discuss. Now, upon considering our age as an age of information and technology, people all over the world use different aspects of technology on different levels in their life. Now, in light of this fact, I want you to answer these following questions in a brief paragraph, let's say 5 to 6 lines, no more, where you elaborate on the relationship. Elaborate, I mean you explain the relationship between technology and finding information, how far technology is useful to us when it comes to finding or looking for information. But I wanted to do this by answering these two main questions. The first question says, how has technology affected the way we receive news? In your viewpoint, how do you think technology has affected the way we receive news? The second question is concerned with a personal, or let's say a more personal experience. Talking about you, how do you usually get your information? Do you, for example, read the newspaper, or you watch the news on TV, or you go and find other kind of media in order to stay informed? For example, if we relate this to our current or current life or contemporary days. The whole world is talking about the coronavirus, and I think we are all interested in this issue. Now, in order to stay informed about this problem, the coronavirus, what do you do? Do you only watch TV, or you go for social media, for example, or you read the papers in order to know more about what is happening all over the world with regard to this issue or not? Or you have, I mean, some other ways to do that. Now, I want you to answer these two questions in a brief, short paragraph, let's say 5 to 6 lines, no more, in a good, comprehensive, and coherent structure using simple and correct language. And I expect that you submit your writings by Tuesday, let's say. Okay? Now let's move immediately to the passage we are discussing now. The passage is related to the internet history. We are tracing back the history of certain internet aspects. We have different internet aspects, but in this very specific presentation, I am handling only 3 of them, the very first 3 of them. That is the email, the emoticon, and the malware. We are discussing each one separately, or the history of each one separately. Now let's begin with the very first email. How do you think it started? Who started or who created emails, and for what purposes? Let's move and read the paragraph. Please, on page 80 in your student book, please read with me. American programmer Ray Tomlinson sent the first email in 1971. He was also the first person to use the @ symbol in an email address to separate the user's name from the user's machine. This all happened before the internet existed. At that time, a network called ARPANET was being used by the US Department of Defense. I'm reading it again in order to have clearer or to be more focused, let's say. American programmer Ray Tomlinson sent the first email in 1971. He was also the first person to use the @ symbol in an email address to separate the user's name from the user's machine. This all happened before the internet existed. At that time, a network called ARPANET was being used by the US Department of Defense. Now, before we explain this paragraph, let's discuss the certain, let's say, difficult words that you might not understand. Beginning with the word symbol. What do you think the word symbol means? The word symbol is a noun, and it means a mark or a sign or even a character that is used to stand for something else. Like, for example, the stop sign. The stop sign is a symbol of a rule that you should stop where you are. Or let's say in literature, because most of you read novels or have already studied literature, we can say that black, for instance, is a symbol of death. Or winter, the season, winter, is a symbol of sadness. So symbol, when we have something or we create something that stands for something else. Okay. Now let's move to the second word, and that is separate. It is a verb. And when I say separate something, it means that you move this thing apart from something else. So when we say, for example, separate people, actually we are trying to move them apart or away from each other. And the third one, the US Department of Defense. US, I mean the United States. Now, the US Department of Defense is related to the American Army, the American Military Department. Okay, now let's move back to the email and the first email. As it is told, or as it is mentioned here, American programmer Ray Tomlinson sent the first email in 1971. So let's say that it started actually in or by an American programmer named Ray Tomlinson, and this happened in the last century in the 70s. And in that, or by that email, he was the first one to use the symbol @ And I guess you all have emails and you know what this @ is used for. For instance, if we have this email, let's say Tasneem 56 whatever 7 @yahoo.com. Now, this is an email address. Let's suppose that this is an email address. We have this @ This @ separates between the name, the user's name, my name as a user, and now it separates the name from the website. It is at this Yahoo website. Now, previously or in the beginning, it was the machine's name. It's not the website name. Okay. Fine. Now, but why did it start, or why they had or created the email in the beginning? Actually, it was for more of a military purpose. As it is mentioned here, this all happened before the internet existed, and at that time, a network called ARPANET was being used by the US Department of Defense. It was only for military purposes, to send emails among people in or using a network that was called ARPANET. And at that time, internet was not, let's say, invented or created yet. There was a network called ARPANET, which they used in order to send emails through this network. Okay, now here I'm giving you some of the questions, and I wish that if you pause the video here, look at the questions. You have 4 questions. I want you just to pause the video and try to answer the questions by yourself. Move back to the text, read it again, and try to answer the questions. And then, once you finish, I want you to resume the video and check your answers with me. Okay, the first question says, who was the first person to use the email and when? In other words, who was the first person to create the email? It is obviously mentioned in the paragraph. It was Ray Tomlinson, an American programmer, and this happened in 1917. Let's move to the second question. What is the @ symbol used for? Why did they create it? Why they had it at that time? And the answer is right there. It was used, and now it is also used, to separate between the user's name and the user's machine. Third question. Which appeared first? Is it the internet or the email? Exactly, it is the email. As you were told or informed in the paragraph, there was no internet at that time. There was an ARPANET, a network called ARPANET, so the email was created first. The last question says, what was the first network used and for what purposes? Yes, it is a network called ARPANET, and it was only for military purposes. In other words, it was not available for the public. It was not available for anybody to use. It was only used by the Department of Defense in the United States, only for military purposes. Okay. Now let's move to the second paragraph where we see the first emoticon. Now, what do we mean by emoticon? By the way, emoticon is the emojis you use nowadays in your in your chat rooms. When you chat with people, you use those emojis, the like the smiley face, the crying face, the happy face, the sad face, and others, so many others. They are originally called emoticon. Now, how did it start and why it was created in the first place? Let's read the paragraph. The first person to distinguish a joke from a serious post by typing, you see this symbol? By typing this symbol, you see the colon, the dash, and this parenthesis to symbolize a sideways smiley face was computer scientist Scott Fahlman. He was worried about people misinterpreting comments on the online notice board at Carnegie Mellon University, so he posted a message on 19 September 1982 that read, "I propose the following character sequence for joke markers." Let me read it again. The first person to distinguish a joke from a serious post by typing to symbolize a sideways smiley face was computer scientist Scott Fahlman. He was worried about people misinterpreting comments on the online notice board at Carnegie Mellon University, so he posted a message on 19 September 1982 that read, "I propose the following character sequence for joke markers." Before we go on to explaining this paragraph, how many times we are misinterpreted by other people when we send them messages? Sometimes you send your friend a message uh, where actually you mean something, but the receiver or your friend, let's say, understands something else. So we have this point of misunderstanding between you and your friend because the only thing he sees is words on the screen, not knowing or not able to realize or recognize your feelings or emotions or even your facial expressions because that person does not see you. Therefore, sometimes we tend to use those images, the laughing emoji or the crying emoji or whatever emoji to show the other person my feeling at the moment of texting. Now, who was the first person to come up with this great, let's say, idea, the emoticon or the emojis? It was a person called Scott Fahlman. Scott Fahlman one day realized that people misinterpret words, misinterpret posts or comments. They misunderstand them. They do not understand them the right way. Therefore, he created this smiley face with this sequence or order of symbols, the colon, the dash, and the parentheses, in order to represent a smiley face to tell the reader that this is only a joke. It's not a serious post, or it is a post for that is full of joy. It's not a post that is uh, covered or embedded with anger or sadness or whatever. Um, okay, now we have here some difficult words. I think it is important to discuss them in order to understand the paragraph better. You have the word distinguish. Distinguish actually is a verb, and the noun is distinction. Distinguish is a verb. It means to recognize something as being different. Like when I say you distinguish between colors, that you can tell that this color is different from that color, or this blue color is different from that red color. So you distinguish between them. You can tell the difference. You can find that these, or you can tell that these two things are different. The second word symbolize, if you remember, we have already discussed the word symbol as a noun. Now here we have it as a verb. Symbolize is to represent or to stand for. So a symbol symbolizes something else. So it is when a mark or a character or a sign stands for another thing or another meaning or a certain idea. Then you have the word misinterpret. And I guess we have already come across this word misinterpret. Misinterpret is a verb, and it means to misunderstand something or to understand something in a wrong way. The word propose, and it is also a verb, it means to suggest or to offer. And it is more here, it goes more with suggest. And the last word is sequence. Sequence means the order. It is a noun. It is the order in which a series of things appears. Okay, now, as I have already told you, emoticon or emojis are not new to internet or to technologies. Actually, they were first created in 1982, and I think this is a long enough time for having such a thing or a creative thing to our technology or to the internet we're using nowadays. Okay, now here we have some of the questions which also I wanted to think about. Read them carefully, and I wanted also to pause the video a little bit, try to answer the questions, and then we will discuss them together. Fine. The first question says, how did Fallman help people avoid misinterpreting a post or a comment? You know the word avoid? Avoid means to stay away from or keep away from something, so it does not happen. Okay, so how did Fallman help people avoid misinterpreting? Exactly. It is by typing this sequence of symbols in order to symbolize a sideways smiley face to represent that this, or to indicate that this is a joke, it's not a serious issue. Second question. How did he introduce the smiley symbol to people? How did he first do this? Is it that he went to people telling them individually, I created so and so and I wanted to use it in your chatting or texting or whatever? No. He actually he wrote a message on the online notice board at Carnegie Mellon University, and the message said, I suggest the following character sequence for joke markers. So he told them that these markers or this sequence represents a joke. So why don't you use it? The last question says, when did this symbol first appear? In what year? Yes, it happened in 1982, exactly, more specifically on 19th September. Very well. Now let's move to the third paragraph, the last but not least in this presentation. And it is concerned with the first malware. Malware, ladies and gentlemen, is more like a virus. We all know that sometimes our laptops, our computers, or maybe smartphones might be attacked by viruses or malwares, which might bring or cause harm to our files or the device itself. It might bring damage to our files. Therefore, we usually download or keep an antivirus on our laptops, computers, and cell phones in order to protect them from such viruses and malwares. Now, how did it first appear? Let's have a look at this paragraph and read it carefully. From the beginning, programmers experimented with viruses to see their effect on a network of computers. The first virus was called the Creeper virus, and it was created in 1971. It was a message that said, "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can." But it did not do any harm. The first true malware on the internet was created by Robert Tappan Maurice, a student at Cornell University, in 1988. It was called the Maurice worm, and it spread across the internet. Again, from the beginning, programmers experimented with viruses to see their effect on a network of computers. The first virus was called the Creeper virus and was created in 1971. It was a message that said, "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can," but it didn't do any harm. The first true malware on the internet was created by Robert Tappan Maurice, a student at Cornell University, in 1988. It was called the Maurice worm and it spread across the internet. Before we discuss details in the paragraph, let's first examine or explore the three words that might be difficult for you to understand, beginning with the verb experiment. As you all know, experiment can be a noun and can be a verb, but in this context, it is a verb. Now, what does it mean? To experiment something means to try out new ideas or methods, like when you have experiments in a lab, like scientific experiments. So when you try something new, you experiment it. The second word is the word harm, and here it is a noun, and it means damage. And I think you are familiar with such a term. The last word is spread, and here it is a verb, and it is in form 2. It is a past tense in this sentence, in this context. To spread means to extend over an area. Like when I say, for instance, the coronavirus, let's be more up to date in a way. The coronavirus has spread all over the world. Has spread all over the world means that it is, you can find it anywhere all over the world. So it has spread means it has extended all over the area. Okay. Now, viruses or people in the beginning wanted to know if or how a virus might attack a computer and damage, or what kind of effect first that might this virus bring to the computer or to the system of or a software of a certain computer. And the very first virus was called the Creeper virus, and it was like a message. You are working on your laptop and suddenly you receive a message from nowhere. You don't know where this message is actually or originally from. And the message says, "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can." And by doing a certain thing, by this, you are allowing the virus to attack your computer. Of course, unconsciously, you don't know that, which might bring harm to your computer. But this Creeper virus was not the kind of a harmful one. It was only a virus an experimental one. So it did not bring any harm. The first harmful virus or malware that was created in the world of technology and computers was called the Maurice worm. Now, why Maurice worm? Maurice is related to the name of the one who created this malware, and it is Robert Maurice in Cornell University, and this happened in 1988. And at that time, when he created it, it spread across the internet. So many computers connected to the internet got affected by this malware. Okay. Now, moving to the following questions. Again, pause the video, try to answer these questions, think carefully, and then we go back to uh, answering them together. Fine. Let's begin with the first question. Why did computer programmers experiment with viruses? Why they had this uh, point of thinking? Why they wanted to study, or why did they have this study field? Yes, the point is that they wanted to see the virus's effect on a network of computers. They wanted to think or to see how or what impact or effect they have on a network of computers. The second question is concerned with the creeper virus, information about the creeper virus. The first information I'm looking for is the year of appearance. In other words, when did it appear? Yes, it appeared in 1971. Does this year recall uh, any other incident to you? Yes, it is the first use of the email. Okay. Now, form of appearance, how did it appear? How did this virus appear to people? Yes, it was like a message, and this message said, I am the creeper, catch me if you can. But how harmful was it? Was it harmful or not? Actually, no, it was not harmful at all. The third question is related to Robert Morris and how do you think he contributed? How he contributed, I mean, how did he or what things did he do through which he added to the world of viruses and malwares? What did he do or what inventions did he bring to the world of viruses and malwares? Yes, he created the first real malware, that is the Morris worm, which is spread across the internet. Very good. This way, we finish with the first part of the text, the first three internet aspects. Next time, inshallah, on Tuesday, we are continuing with the second part of the text, which I hope that you try to read in advance. And of course, do not forget to submit your writing, answering the first questions I have already suggested by the beginning of this presentation. And have a good day, and thank you so much for